Welcome back to Adobe Illustrator CC. This tutorial covers the Pen tool and the Curvature tool. If you hover over them, they'll actually give you the hotkeys. Pen tool has the hotkey P. The Curvature tool has Shift plus and the tilde key, which is the weird little key that's above the Tab key on your keyboard. So basically, the Pen tool, if you hold your mouse down, you have options underneath. The Curvature, however, only has one option, so I'm going to go over that one first. The first thing I want to do before I do anything is set up my fill and my stroke. Remember, the first option here is the fill. The second one is the stroke, which is the way you can kind of remember is the stroke is next to the stroke number. So that's pretty easy. So the fill, what I want it to be is the red slash, which means no fill. And the stroke, I'll leave it at black, but I'll maybe increase the point to 2 point just so it's a little easier to see. So as I click here, you get this little point, and as I move around anywhere on the stage, I can click again and basically drag out, and what will happen is I essentially have a nice curved arc. So this tool is very easy for creating sort of curved shapes like a circle or ellipse. Now we do have an ellipse tool, but the difference is that I can go in different directions. So I can go all the way around here and basically make kind of a, I don't know, kind of a big smiley squish squash character. Kind of like the Super 6 character from Walt Disney. And then I can swap them out like that. And basically clicking on the arrow basically swap the fill and the stroke so you can see what the whole shape would look like. So that's basically it for the curvature tool. There's not a whole lot to it. The pen tool, however, has lots of options. Again, I want to flip these. Otherwise, let me show you what would happen as I click and basically draw. What's happening here is I'm basically getting a fill on the inside, which is not what I want. So let me go ahead and delete this. And basically, I'm going to hit Control A to select all, and then hit the backspace or delete key on a Mac. I'm going to click on this little arrow here to swap fill and stroke. So again, my fill is red transparent and the stroke is black. So I'm going to set it at 2 point again, just so it's a little easier to see. With the pen tool, if you click, you essentially get a point, and then as I move over, if I click again, I get a straight line. So all I'm doing is clicking to create straight points, and this is great for creating, custom basically shapes that are sort of straight. And then when you get to the end, notice that the symbol changes from nothing to this little circle, meaning I'm going to close that shape up, and then I can click again. You'll see a little asterisk sort of star symbol next to the pen tool, which basically states I'm ready for a new path, right? So as I click through here and then end, we have that again. Now if I come over to a shape that is selected here, which is this one, and come over to an anchor point, you'll see a minus up here. If I move anywhere along the line, you'll see a plus. What that allows me to do is either add or subtract anchor points. So I'm going to subtract one by clicking on that one, and then I'm going to add one right here. Now what that allows me to do is I can switch to the white arrow tool and basically click and drag out, and you'll see here that I now have an extra point, which with the white arrow I can actually create into a curve with this little icon here, which is kind of handy. Basically any of these points I can make it into a curved shape very quick and easy. So let's go ahead and delete these. I'm going to show you another thing you can do with the pen tool. So all these options that are underneath, you don't have to actually access them basically by holding down the mouse and going to there. I'm going to go to the tear out bar here though to show you don't have to access these plus and minus as you're drawing out. I mean, basically I have shown you those two, but what about this little guy here, the convert anchor tool or anchor point tool? You'll see here in just a sec. I'm going to click and drag a couple points, and I'm going to make just some sort of polygon here. Now say I want to make this point instead of a sharp point, a rounded point. Well, I can hold Alt or Option on the Mac and I get that anchor point tool. And as I click and drag, I get this little control handles that I can kind of swap. So right now if I left it, it would kind of create an overlap, but if I turn it this way, I essentially get a nice curve. Now what if I want to bring it back to a sharp point? Well, I can do the same thing. I can hold Alt or Option on a Mac, and click once, and then there's a sharp point. So any of these I can adjust after I have drawn. So you don't have to do the click and drag with the mouse to create a curve. Even though I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment here, you can work this way. A lot of people find the pen tool very difficult to work because of the way the curves work with the pen tool. So I'm going to delete this and show you how to work on the fly. So say I want to create, I don't know, some sort of curve thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag out, and what that does is it creates these little handlebars, which is the beginning of my curve. And I'm going to come down here and click and drag again, and click and drag again, and basically I have now made curves along here. Now later on I can go back and hold down the Alter option and make those sharp points if I want. Now as I'm moving and I draw at a point, if I don't release the mouse with this point yet, I can hold down the space bar, and you'll notice I'll be able to reposition that as I'm drawing it out, which is quite cool. The other thing you can do is say I want this to be, instead of a curved end here, I want it to be a sharp point, like it's coming down like an arrow. Well, if I hold Alter option, what I can do is literally break the handlebar here and curve it up the other direction. And now I have essentially a sharp point. And again, if I hold space bar, I can reposition the point as I'm drawing it out. Once I get to the end, all I have to do is click on that point, and now I have a complete path here that is now a shape. So now any of these points, if I want to adjust them, like if I want to get rid of them, like right now it's a minus here, I can click on it and it will go away. At that point, I can grab on these handlebars with the white arrow tool and basically drag it out and adjust my curve. I can reposition them and pull them out and kind of make it a little bit more simplified essentially. Because quite often what happens with the pen tool is you create way too many anchor points than necessary for the shape that you're creating. For example, right here, this extra point here, which is the handlebar, but I don't know, maybe this point we don't need. Let's switch to the pen tool again and let's get rid of it and see how that looks. So now I'll switch back to the white arrow. Again, I'm using hotkeys, so I'm just hitting the A key for the white arrow, and that gives a little bit more refined sort of look for that sharp point. I'm going to bend this hand a little bit up that way and then adjust this one a little bit. But you can see the possibilities are kind of endless with the pen tool in collaboration with the white arrow tool. I'm clicking out here, and I don't know, that's kind of interesting shape. So I can swap it, basically the fill and stroke, and kind of see what the whole shape looks like, and I can further edit with other tools. But that's the basic introduction to the pen tool and the curve tool, the curvature tool. So see you soon in Adobe Illustrator CC.